Altus Group's software, data, and advisory services help bring the clarity, perspective, and insights you need to minimize the risk and maximize the value of your investments. Because it's not simply how much data you have, it's how clearly you see it.
All right, everybody. It's over.
Yay.
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 Well, yay. Yeah, I mean,
Big
Yay and
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So we are, because we won't be available tomorrow for our weekly Realcomm Live, we're going to be sort of live. So somebody will open up the episode, but then they're going to play what we talk about today, right? And we thought, since we had this wonderful set, this incredible crew, that we would just take a few minutes. You know, the crowd is gone, the big crowd is gone, and just talk about what we just went through for the last 5-7 months, whatever. And so let me tee it up. It's February 15th. I think I'm in Buffalo dealing with a family issue, and I'm working remotely, and I'm starting to hear this thing about COVID. And I think our first call was the 21st-ish.
Toward the end.
Feel like the third week of February, where I'm thinking we might not have an event in June. And I think as I'm thinking, I'm getting emails from Howard saying, yeah, the program's just about wrapped. We're looking in good shape.
Were you
That
really
would be
thinking
mine.
that early
Yeah.
that the event might be postponed?
I was getting a gnawing feeling that something wasn't
Yeah.
right. And so, I'm moving forward on my left side of my brain, and I'm thinking, what the heck on my right? And then we got on the phone. I think it was a Saturday.
Yeah.
And we got on the phone and said, could this thing really get out of control? Oh, it'll be over in a month or 2 months. And then I think it was probably March 15th-ish.
I think it was the 11th.
The 11th, yeah.
11th,
Yeah, it was the
yeah.
11th.
Well, I know because March 23rd is when we sent the email
That's
out
when the
to all of
email
our
went out,
exhibitors
yeah.
and sponsors that we were postponing to September.
It was?
It was September, March
Right,
23rd.
that's right. The first pivot
Yeah.
was to just move from Miami to, in June, to Miami in September.
And we were locked down in Miami.
Well,
We
in
had-
that, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason we couldn't do the event was because our exhibit floor was full of hospital beds,
Right.
and they were still using the Miami Beach Convention Center as a hospital. And I remember those calls. Me, you, Nancy, you and I were on, and we're like, "Come on, lean into this, and we want to make this work, and we'll be creative."
We
It's
were
an
pushing
opportunity.
them.
We were pushing them.
Yeah, we were.
And I think it was the second call you and I got off and said, "No, they're not really interested in pushing." And so,
They had some pretty big issues to deal with.
yeah, they had big issues. In all fairness,
Well, it was
yeah.
government, it was local, it was state, local, government, and the convention bureau.
So the first thing we had to do is we got Mandy on the phone and said, "Mandy, we got to get out of all the Miami contracts because we can't move forward until we know this is clean." So she got all the hotel contracts taken care of. The convention center was wonderful.
Yeah.
They let us out of the contract
In the hotels.
in the hotels, which was a big deal, right?
That
And
was the lift and shift.
That was
Right?
lift and
Lift and
shift,
shift.
as she
That
called
was
it,
the
right?
lift and shift.
And then from there, we said, all right, who will have us?
Well, we thought, let's get away from a large urban area where it's really dense. And Miami is a party town, not conducive to having a safe event. So we thought, let's go find a resort area.
Right. We pivoted from wild and crazy, Las Vegas, Nashville, Miami, to peaceful, serene, healthy,
Clean air,
clean
a
air
little
resort.
out, yeah.
That's where we came up with
Yeah.
Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Get them out of the city, get them out of the house to a place they can get away.
And also because it was driving distance.
Driving
we were
distance
thinking
for a
that
lot of
would
Californians.
Yep,
Yep.
that would make it a little easier.
And
Oh,
so,
don't forget San Antonio.
no, that's
Well,
not.
that's what's
hold on.
next,
Yeah. Yeah.
So we all, four of us, we go to Arizona. Howard, Lisa flew. Nancy, I drove.
And I thought that was perfect.
Oh, it was
That would
perfect.
have been absolutely
I mean, it was
perfect.
a beautiful
was
resort.
gorgeous.
It was going to be
Yeah.
warm. We were going to have yoga classes,
Yeah.
Golf, we had
and healthy
everything.
drinks
yeah.
to get people healthy as opposed to COVID.
It had everything we wanted,
Down to
everything
two
that we
resorts.
needed. Yeah.
And
Except
then
before we got home, the headlines
the headlines
changed.
started happening.
Yes.
Phoenix blowing up. And then we
Yeah.
had the conversations, well, guys, but by the time we have it, it'll be up and down, but the optics would have been terrible.
We couldn't have
We couldn't have
marketed.
marketed the
Couldn't,
conference in that
in
environment.
Arizona.
No.
And the other thing was the governor and the mayor were at odds, not agreeing.
Right.
So we could not literally get commitment from those two entities and the hotel. And we toured that beautiful resort in Phoenix, and it would have been wonderful. And then you had to give them the call that, nope, not going to work.
Yeah.
Right. So then we said, who else will have us? And we went to Texas, right?
Yeah, we looked at Texas.
JW Marriott in San Antonio,
San Antonio,
which was
away resort.
and also looked at the Gaylord
Gaylord
Texan, right?
Texan.
Gaylord, Texas,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The idea there was Texas was open for business, and they were lowering restrictions much more than anybody else.
And we had been at the hotel outside San Antonio for a golf event several years prior, so we knew what a beautiful,
beautiful
resort it was, and
And
knew
were
something
still
about
looking
it.
for a home for
We were still looking- yeah.
hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not-
But then
Yeah.
the headlines followed us from Arizona
yeah.
to Texas.
COVID was following us.
I mean, literally, I'll never forget it. We were ready to push out, sign
Yeah.
the contract,
And then send the
push
email.
out an email with an inch from the send key, and the headlines hit
And,
that
and
Texas
all
was on fire.
along
Yeah.
the time of this logistics, we're trying to figure out what a hybrid is. And a COVID safe. I mean, so Howard's chasing down COVID technologies. I'm talking to people trying to figure out hybrid. Are they in the wall? Are they not there? And
What
we're,
the
heck is a
hybrid,
Sherry
yeah.
and Sherry and Sarah are like smiling and dialing, looking at hybrid systems. I think we started with 100.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're over. We're working on the physical side, and they're working on the virtual side.
Right.
And I think we got it narrowed down to 3.
Plus, we had no idea if we did a hybrid conference how many people would show up. So our original
and
estimates
let's
were.
talk about that. So we sent out a survey.
Yeah.
2,500 people in Nashville. The first survey came back. IFMA survey came back. 30% will come.
It looked like 30.
And that was
yeah.
750 people. We go, wow, we could
Yeah.
do a 750 person event.
Yeah.
And
30, 30, and 30.
30, yeah, right.
Yeah.
30, 30, well, 30,
Well,
40.
it was 30, 30,
Yeah, 30,
40,
40,
yeah.
30. Yeah.
And,
well, it's,
and then we said, all right, but what if they don't come? And that's where the real idea of the hybrid event started to make a lot of sense, because we said, virtual on site, all I needed was a slide bar that said how much online and how much physical.
Right.
And if physical got all the way to just us, because we were determined to be in person, then we just slide it all the
So
way.
the slide bar started at 750.
750.
Oh,
500.
That was
Yeah.
June.
That was it. 500, 250,
400, 350, 250. Yeah.
100 to 65.
65.
yeah, that
So,
slide
so,
was.
so then we went from Texas to Denver. Logic there was middle of the country. They had great stats. They didn't really have any big peaks. And it was just a little less off the political discussion. Denver wasn't quite engaged in the discussion about you did it wrong, right? So
Plus, it's like a 2-hour flight from just about
2 hour flight
anywhere.
from anywhere.
Yeah.
And then we were looking at 2 different locations, Colorado Springs, the Broadmoor, and then the Gaylord Rockies, right? And I think our final logic was 7 minutes from the airport, minimal time in a transportation, and this is a brand new
property.
resort.
Brand new resort. Yeah.
Great broadband, and we knew we were going to need a lot of broadband.
Yeah.
And I think what really solidified it for me was we said, we're going to do something crazy. Are you in? And they said, sure. And then I said, well, crazy means we got 12 people coming next week to crawl through your air conditioning ducts.
Well, and remember the evolution too of getting on airplanes to go to Phoenix, looking at that resort, meeting with all of the
Oh, I
executives.
forgot all that part, the virtual tours,
and,
yeah.
and then we would go to, when we were looking at Texas, we went to, send us all the pictures, how many videos do you have? What do you have
We
posted on
evaluated
YouTube?
3 properties.
To Denver, where we're like, okay, done.
No.
The virtual tour.
I
The
said,
virtual tour.
can you carry
Yes,
a phone
yes,
around the
yes.
resort and give us a virtual tour?
That's where I was going with that,
We got really
yeah.
good at virtual tours. Our whole team was on it. And I tried to talk to the hotels. I said, guys, get good at this. Tripod, sound, mic, lights. I said, this is the way you're going to
I think they're all doing it now.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
to
A
the
lot of
extent
them
they
are.
should.
No, I
But
agree.
it was the
I
first
mean,
time
but-
in 22 years that we picked a location
without
having
being
Without-
but
without
that one
visiting at
virtual
all.
tour too, I think we did. It was in San Antonio, the resort. They had multiple people at different locations, and they were switching.
Oh,
They
yeah.
got very
Yeah.
creative in about 48 hours because
Yep.
we said we're
They
not
did.
coming. We don't have time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get the virtual tour going.
Yeah.
And they did. And it
You
was
were
wonderful.
walking him through, telling him where to
Where to
go,
go.
and put his earbuds in so he could hear us talking.
And Chuck saying, I need to look at this.
Right,
And the
right.
killer one was when we were in Phoenix, I'm walking down the hall in our virtual tour, and I asked the gal, so what are the ceiling heights here? One of our guys wants to know, and she goes, I'm going to have to get back to you. And my bud Chuck goes, they're 14 feet. And I looked at the gal from the hotel, I go,
Oh, they're
14 feet. She goes, how do you know that? I go, Chuck told me. So we were even doing hybrid tours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but, I think we should mention that from the very beginning, a lot of these decisions were driven by the fact that we knew that we had to do something.
We weren't going to not do something.
We weren't going to not do something. And
I heard some statements in the industry, not going to name any names, but it's socially irresponsible to try to get people back together in 2020. And I took that as a personal challenge to say, no, I don't believe that. We're going to do it safely. We're going to do it respectfully. We're going to use common sense. But we can't, and what in my head, I was balancing pandemic, health, and economic calamity. That was the two sides of the scale I was measuring. And we've seen some pretty horrific financial devastation. Thank God for government assistance and PPP.
Yeah.
But I know way too many people are unemployed who are living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, last night at our little reception, that sweet little bartender said to me, "Thank you so much. This is the 8th event I've done since March." And then I went to my briefcase and got money and handed her a big tip.
Yeah.
Because the economic impact is too much. And
been
for those of us
devastating.
who are fortunate enough to, work in the white collar world with laptops and clouds, it's easy for us to stay at home. But these people, they need to be out and about, and that was part of my driving force.
Yeah, in our industry, I mean, what we evangelize is buildings. And
you got to get back into them. Not full, not at 100%.
No.
We can have 2,500 people here. We had 60, and we tested, and we ran through scanners. And God willing, we have no incidents of COVID. The plane trips were uneventful.
Right.
Good HEPA air filtration, masks. I felt totally safe on the airplane.
And I think people will walk away from here and from the conference being better educated about what the reality is, what they can do to really make their buildings and their spaces safer and make their tenants if they're
So the journey
landlords.
continues. We call
Well
the
said.
Gaylord said we're sending in a team, 12 people on site, another 16, and they learned. They got the tripod. The guy was there. He had the earbud, so he was asking questions for the on-site team and the virtual team.
Right.
And I was amazed at how those two teams, who were literally walking around, and the virtual team,
We get a shout out to those guys
Oh.
who
Scott
made the time.
Papay and
Scott
Tom
Papay from Long,
Shercliffe led that
Tom
group,
Shercliffe from Intelligent
wrote a little
Buildings.
white paper on it, gave it to the
That was
hotel.
huge.
Great recommendations for UVC filtration and just great ideas that came out of that. And I hope
Yeah.
the Marriott and the Gaylord take them up on some of those. That was free
Yeah.
consulting,
Yeah.
basically the way I look at it.
It was, to me, it was kind of a blueprint for you as a in the hospitality industry. What can you do to help make your properties more conducive to bringing in more events and making people feel safe having events again?
So we get the
Right.
tour done, and this is when Howard starts jumping on the phone with Sarah and other people saying, okay, we're not just going to do a hand sanitizer, mask, social distance thing, which, by the way, in Indianapolis, in the month of July, 40,000 people passed through their convention center and hotels with those three protocols: hand sanitizer, wash your hands, social distance, and mask. Those four basic things. 40,000 people filled exhibit floors and session rooms.
Yeah, it's
Not what we
amazing.
did.
Yeah.
So we said, yeah, those are given, but I think we should go a little further. And Howard starts calling. Howard, what were the technologies you dug up? We showed them today.
Yeah.
Well, we found some pretty interesting ones. One was, of course, the symptom sense unit, which is kind of off the charts cool. Which is looks like a big metal detector, but it's got 4 sensors that detect different heart rate, respiration, pulse, oximetry, and temperature.
Yeah.
And combined, gives about 98% accuracy of telling you if you're sick. So we put that, we employed that, thanking the Symptom Sense guys. We had Gallatin Air and IsoAir, two vendors that make units that actually purify the air using bipolar ionization, UV and HEPA filters. We had a UV robot and UV light sanitization company called Safeology and Puro that was brought in by the lighting agency, and we also had
Lumen Ultra.
and we have actually we had learned about a company
Those guys
that
are great.
They were awesome.
that created
Their
this
little
test kit
doctor-
where you could test surfaces. You swab a surface, stick it in a machine that would tell you if COVID was present or had been present over the last 10 days. Just being released publicly, and so we employed that, and we actually used it throughout the hotel to check all the surfaces.
Well, the
Thank God
hotel,
everything
we're
was,
this end of the hotel.
well, this conference
And they
end of the hotel.
passed.
And we
And
passed
they
it.
passed,
Yeah. They went around,
No
little
COVID
QR code,
detected.
swabbed
So
it, tested it.
Kind of gave everyone
Yeah.
some confidence that it's a safe environment.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean,
pretty
we didn't
impressive.
just do the 4 basics because we're in the built industry and we're innovators. We said, let's lean in and do something extraordinary.
Yeah.
And we're always early, but 3 years from now, a lot of that stuff will become become kind of standard fare. And P.S. After COVID, you still got flu season, you still got cold season.
Right.
If you could tell me that I can zap bacteria or floating particles in an elevator, in a crowded office building during flu season, that's probably not a bad thing.
$1 a square foot,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
$1 a
Yeah.
square
That was
foot,
one
yeah.
of the best sessions, too.
Yeah,
was the
Yeah,
they
lighting
were
it really
all
was.
great sessions, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's finish the journey, right? So now we're doing the tour. You're looking for COVID technologies in addition to the 240 speakers that you and Sarah are trying to get organized. Sherry and Sarah and team are out there looking for platforms, and we found one of the best, but it wasn't good enough, so we said you got to modify it and do some extra things. That was a bunch.
Well,
of
I think it bears mentioning that we didn't come up with a unique agenda format for the virtual event. It really was a reflection of a
own.
live
Right.
conference.
Right.
Yes.
All of the elements were present from pre-con to
and I remember that day you and I were
Yeah.
talking in the morning. I said, Howard, this is crazy, extraordinary, but can we really do this? And by the end of the day, I realized it was so big that you just went your own way and got it big again.
Well-
and I said, we need a picture of this. And Sarah goes, I got you, Jim. Like 2 hours later, we got that architecture document that we've
Yeah.
been relying on for the last 5 months. And I go, oh my God, Monday, pre-con, all these sessions, Realcomm Live, exhibit floor, the best practice showcase.
I thought, for a long time, I thought it was too big.
Oh, it was?
I didn't know how
Well,
are
we
we
wanted
going to
to
do this?
maintain
Delivery.
some of the elements of the familiar.
Exactly.
In the
Yeah.
program, so that it wasn't such a departure
Right.
from the physical
That was
event.
that was
was the key,
That was a
was-
good move. But executing,
That was
Yeah,
that's right.
that was a
I
tricky
think
part.
You're,
No, go ahead.
You're still on the journey to get there.
No, I'm on the architecture doc. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wednesday we cross over. What's a crossover? I think Sherry taught me that word. And it's like, okay, now we're going to leave the virtual world where this wonderful Realcomm Live news desk was going for 2.5 days. And there was very few people here. They're all almost 99%, with the exception of John Doolin, came in virtual on the wall, which they performed stunningly. And then when we crossed over, it was, okay, now there's people coming in. And less people on the wall and more people like this, because this is what people want to see. They want
Right.
to see people together, not Zoom calls.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone who hasn't put a virtual conference on would appreciate the amount of work that went into it.
No.
Right.
I was totally surprised. I knew every single session, and there were 100. Every single speaker, and there were
Hundreds.
200.
Right.
Every room had to be identified uniquely inside the system. Every speaker had to be tested to make sure that their connections were good. I mean, it was a massive amount of
Well,
work.
I mean,
It
I
was.
think, it was 3 weeks
It
ago
really
or 2
was.
weeks ago, we were talking to Greg, and he said, yeah, everybody needs to be tested. And he's got webcasting events going on 24 hours a day. And I go, you're probably not going to be able to get to this. And he kind of looked at me, and I said, I got it. And we said, can you teach Ian how to do this? And he said, yeah. So Ian just gets out there, and I think he tested 50 people within 2 weeks and very few problems. And yeah, whoever thought
great.
we'd be doing that, right? But we had to pivot and pivot quick.
we pivoted in a lot of
We
places.
pivoted a lot.
So then we get
Yeah.
finally into the on-site, and we turn Realcomm Live into now a stage. And for the last day and a half, well, starting at 4 o'clock yesterday, all the way through today. But to me, the culmination of that physical side was when we had the associations on, and we had 3 of them, 1 executive director and 2 chair people here physically, and then 1 chairperson and 2 executive directors. I mean, we had senior leadership from BOMA, IFMA, and IREM. That was not just a technological accomplishment. I think that was an industry accomplishment and we're not an association, right? But we've known all of those folks for 20 plus years. To sit and feel the collaborative effort and how everybody's willing to work together and share all this stuff. That was a real highlight for me.
That was huge.
That was a great session.
That was really good.
That was really.
And so that takes us to right now where we're filming here. So now it's the time for a little bit of reflection. Nance, did you have any idea? Did you have any clue what it would take? Was it worth it? I mean, what's your just final thoughts on this whole 6-month journey?
Well, it is no different than all the years past where it's like delivering a baby. And it takes you 9 months to get ready for it. And then you go through the pain of it. And when you're done, you think, oh, that wasn't so bad.
I don't want to do it again, though.
I don't know. We'll see. But no, I think, as I said, it was a lot more work than I believed it would be. And, we had an amazing team. And I wish they could all be up here with us talking about it. Because they pulled off just session after session after session. And a lot of good education. Everything I've heard so far has been that the program did not suffer in any way, being virtual versus being live. And
so because this is sort of live, Realcomm Live, I'm going to kind of go off. Sherry, Parr, or Mary, if you can hear me, we're planning a team call right after we're done with this, right? So that means we're going to, can you hear me? We're going to be doing our team picture with everybody virtual. It might be fun to get that going now so we can actually include all of our team members in this Realcomm Live. So if you guys can get a team call going with everybody, which is scheduled for a few minutes. And then
we're overdue anyway.
Sean, our magician, might be able to bring them up on the screen. We can get ready for our picture and include them in this little video for Realcomm Live. So if you guys can pull that off. So anyways, we were talking about the team, and what a phenomenal job they did. And so let's see if they can pull that. Anything else that you want to just finish up with as far as what this was all about?
Did you want me to repeat that?
Huh?
Did you want me to repeat that?
No. Okay, all right.
We're going to roll
We're done.
again.
All right. Howard, how about you? Just the final thoughts on what this is all about.
Yeah, I had to go through it and experience this to really understand what we really accomplished. And the way I feel now is I feel that all of the pain, all of the angst, all of the up and downs somehow paid off and was worth it. Would I want to start again tomorrow planning another one?
No. Please, no.
Give me a few months.
Absolutely not.
We'll think about it again.
That
every year
childbirth,
for
I still
22 years
remember.
we get together and say, are we doing it again?
Still too fresh.
It's too fresh.
the pains of childbirth are still too fresh.
Even for us, and we're mad. Lisa, how about you?
I was terrified and petrified 90% of the time because I'd never done a virtual event, never been part of a virtual event, never planned a virtual event. It took us, like you've mentioned, it took us a while to get our arms around what is a hybrid, which we've said over and over and over time. I can't tell you how many times on phone calls with our exhibitors and sponsors that I said, I just want to put it out there. We have never done this before. We don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing, and they're enthusiastic and energetic and so supportive, and they're like, "But Lisa, what about this?" I don't know. What about this? Or, what do you think about it? I don't know. We have never done it. Well, how many people do you think are going to show? I don't know. I really have no idea. And they came along for the ride, and
They took us on faith.
They
Yeah.
took us on
They
faith,
did.
and
They really did. I'm
they
laughing, so I'm
were
crying.
phenomenal.
And I'm not touching my eyes with my finger because I probably use this to get the elevator.
But I agree with Howard. It is. I think that I know it was the right thing to do.
It was.
And we have that, our DNA, this team, this company, our DNA is to lead and to push the envelope and to do things that have never been done before. And, and you led us down that path. And
Well, it was a team effort.
But
It
you
was
have
always
that
team.
creative vision of what it could be. And
Sort of.
you were,
I was lying. No,
I'll know that next time.
no, I had a vague idea, but I had no
I
idea.
mean, but you led us around some
Yeah,
pretty big
you-
icebergs.
Yeah.
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 We all did. It's a truly
So-
a team. It's truly a team effort.
And
Yeah.
then we just crashed right on it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, if I was to summarize, you're absolutely right. Sitting on team calls for all of 2020 was not an option, especially not for people in the built environment.
Right.
We can't. Our livelihoods, our industry depends on people going into buildings. So once you made that decision, it's like, okay, well, what can we do to lean into this? That's where it got fun. And we went down the safety and wellness path and the virtual experience path, two crazy, hard things to do, virtually against the majority, going against.
Well, how many of us really believed virtual would work?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were all apprehensive about
but
it
we
as
knew we
a
had to do
platform.
something, right? So we just said we're going, even if we don't know what it is. We
Right.
made a decision.
We
And
got to
then
do something.
We are out of time for Realcomm Live, and this is going to be our tomorrow episode. So on the count of three, everybody just
Where are we
give the
looking?
peace sign for victory, and then we are out. 1,
Peace
2,
out.
3. Thank you, everybody. Woo-hoo!
We're creating something that will power smart and responsible industries. Explore the next chapter in innovation with us at Ericsson.